up, War Report family? I'm your host, C Dub. Is Auburn's football starting QB on campus or nah? The fellas are here to weigh in on that. Also, Auburn basketball begins its tournament run tomorrow in the Magic City. Will they find magic, and how far can they go? We discuss all that and more in the latest edition of the Mid-Week Rapport. Everyone, happy Wednesday to all and each and every one of you. Welcome to the Midweek Rapport, brought to you by AuburnSports.com. Shout out to JG Tate and those guys for what they do covering Auburn athletics and being a supporter of the War Rapport. Thanks to them. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Do us a favor, share this video on social media, Facebook, Twitter, using the hashtag, even at us. That helps as well. Smash that like button, help us with the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We're at 10K, eyeballing 20K. Help us get there. Ike, you got some content that you've been doing in the off season. It's been top shelf. There's more on the way. How can people get to it?
Yeah, all you got to do is become a member, man. Click the join button. When you go into YouTube right now, it basically is like, hey, you watch their stuff a lot. You want to join them and have a membership when you come on now. YouTube is doing their part. Now you just got to do your part and click the button. When you become a member, you get access to all of our additional content that we have behind the paywall. We appreciate those of you who have continued to support, and hopefully you all can continue to do that as we go into the future. If you are a member and you want someone else to have a membership, it's very easy. All you do is click on the little gift box icon from the live chat right there, and you get an opportunity to gift a membership. YouTube will randomly assign these memberships to somebody else who has been interacting with our content but hasn't yet taken the leap. Or maybe they were a member and something happened, and they want to get another free membership on you. It's all good. We appreciate that. One month of free membership, you can gift that to as many people as you'd like to. We're always giving away stuff right here on the War Report. So hashtag get your weight up to be able to get the War Report mug. I know that you all love sipping from the cup of greatness. And if you want to win one of these, hashtag get your weight up. This is sponsored by War Eagle Oil. So War Eagle Oil is going to be your place for all of your automotive needs. So head over to wareagleoil.com for that. But for right now, hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat, and you can enter for your chance to win a free mug.
Gentlemen, how are we this evening? I can start with you.
I'm good. Today was the practice and media session for the tournament here. So I went down to Legacy Arena, got an opportunity to ask a few questions of the players and coach. And that was cool. Looking forward to watching some basketball tomorrow. But, overall, my wife turned 40, so it's cool. Everything. I don't know if I'm supposed to tell you how old she is. All that. If she watching right now,
I mean, it's done.
You in trouble. Ooh.
I don't know if I'm supposed to do that, but it's done. What's done is done. What you gonna do?
See your wife, the big 4-0. How you feeling? Hey, how you doing, bro?
Doing all right, man. Holding on, just holding on, man. Sick babies. Oh, no bueno. No bueno. But you know what I'm saying? We making it. He fighting through that cold, realizing that he can't breathe the same way he sleep. And I realized it very quickly. Why are you waking up, son? You was doing so good sleeping through the night. Well, that's how it is, man. So we making it though. Grab some coffee. My wife was gracious enough to give me the time to grab a nap dead smack in the middle of baby crazy time. It's good. It's good. I'm feeling better now, refreshed, but we here, man.
Yeah, sleeping through the night. I don't know what that is, but anyway.
Oh, man, come on. See, you ain't got that much longer.
Yeah, hold on just a little while longer, brother. Hold on.
You do. You got longer. It's relative.
Yeah, there you go. Fix that. There you go. Clean it up. Clean it up. Thank you.
I ain't gonna give you no false hope.
But when it comes around,
oh yeah,
it's gonna be a beautiful thing, brother.
It's gonna be beautiful, man.
Man. I don't even think about it, man. I'm like, this is life. This is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to wake up in the middle of the night.
Accept it. That's right.
Yeah, I'm supposed to wake up to screams. Yeah. Okay. All right. Oda Smith, appreciate the super chat. He says, Coach Hugh Freeze needs to allow David Goggins to speak to the team. If you don't know him, look him up. Hardest man alive or Eagle. Ring a bell, gentlemen. Or do we all need to do our Googles?
I've heard of David Goggins. You know, he definitely has some motivational stuff he's got going on out there. Coach Pearl, I think has got I don't know. Oh, he said Coach Hugh Freeze needs to. Hugh Freeze got that old youth pastor vibe going on in there, man. He gonna get him motivated.
Okay, all right.
Thinking about life and following Jesus all the way to victory. I don't know if that's what he talked about, but it just sounds like let's follow Jesus to victory. I just feel like,
yeah.
I'm sorry, Coach Freeze, if that's not something you'll say.
He has Southern Baptist vibes about him. James Jordan says, what's the deal with this QB situation? Hearing TJ, is Freeze playing mind games with Robby and Holden? Or do you think this situation is that bad? James, we're going to talk about that.
Okay.
This is what this show is about. So hang on to your seat. We will give our perspective on that shortly. Blake Robinson, good to have you here. He says, we going to the Sweet 16 and Bama will be the first #1 seed out. Book it. War Eagle, I'm ready to rock.
Is that Imani ghost messaging for Blake?
It's Imani's burner account.
Yeah.
Impersonating Blake Robinson. I like the optimism. I'm here for all of that.
Yeah.
Give me a double portion of that. I will take it. Mike G, how you doing, sir?
I'm good. Ready to cover this tournament, guys. It's going to be fun.
You don't look like you look like you're remote, sir.
I am remote. I am remote in Birmingham. Now, newsflash, Caesar and Ike are always in Birmingham. So 3 of us are in the same city for the first time in a long time. So Brian is.
We're all in Alabama for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Actually, when was the last? I guess when we were all at one of the games is probably the last time that has happened for a show.
I think
so. Before the fall, it was actually A-Day 2022, if I'm not mistaken. Because 2021,
was everybody here for A-Day? I don't think so.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I don't know.
Start the lies. Brian Hansher was disappointed that you are not here, Mike G, but he didn't know that you was getting set up and getting here. Talk about our defense being top 3 in the SEC.
Hey, listen, somebody has been watching me say stuff. Now, Brian and I talked about this morning, and I think that it's worth another discussion at some point. But listen, if you ain't booging, I don't know what rhymes with boogie.
I'm about to say, I thought you were going for a rhyme there. I was like, let me see where this is going.
Yeah, I'm not the lyricist Ike is.
I was thinking of a word that rhymes with booking in that moment.
I was about to say hooking. I was
rhymes for booking in my head. I was like, where is this going? Booking, jugging.
I was about to be impressed or sorely let down.
Yeah.
Let down.
Yeah.
No matter what, it was gonna be bad.
Yeah. So I gave you neither. If you ain't booging,
you ain't cooking. More. Go for it. Right? I'll land it for you.
I appreciate that. Teamwork make the dream work.
Yeah. I don't know when this turned into the Don King show, but hey, whatever.
Or Jesse Jackson. Oda Smith says David Goggins ran 100 miles with a hole in his heart. We got to look him up for sure. That sounds like a dude right there.
He's the inspirational ex-Marine.
Yeah.
That if you haven't heard his stuff on YouTube and you just want to get going, it's 10 minutes of it just saying, if you quit, you're a quitter, but you cannot be a quitter, so don't quit. Right? But way cooler, way more inspirational. I love David Goggins stuff.
Yeah. No. Well, listen, let's get into this QB talk. James already asked us about what's going on. He's hearing TJ. Mike G and B Will was at practice on Monday.
B Will,
and you got and you got to see these kids work out. You got to see the quarterbacks in action. It was reported that TJ was working with the ones during that previous period. Okay.
What does that mean, though?
I don't.
I
be trying to hold my peace. Go ahead, man.
Hold it a little bit. I know you about to let it slip, but hold it a little
go
bit
ahead.
longer.
Yeah, I got you. Go ahead.
Okay. And it's led to this conversation about what's going on with this QB room. Now, we're just 4 to 5 practices in, right? So Rome wasn't built in a day. Guys, what has been your take in terms of what you've seen so far? Either one of you jump in when you get ready.
You know what? Let me start right here. Okay.
Mm.
All right. Let's back up. As Mike mentioned, when we talked about the Monday viewing session, I think he mentioned it on Tuesday morning. I'm pretty sure the morning drop. There, we got some extra time to watch practice. They have set aside a certain period of practice, and it's numbered. And that was the time we were going to be out there. It's a 20-minute session where we're going to look. We could take pictures, take video, be on the sideline, and we can stay in a certain area. And then when it's up, you're out of here. All right. They're very deliberate about that. Like, here's when you get to look and record. If it's not that time, get out. Right at the end of the presser, Hugh Freeze said, hey, well, you know what? Why don't y'all come on out? Y'all can come on out now. You know what I said? We were like, oh, okay. Just don't record video. Cool, coach. Appreciate that. Now, if you can't see the video, then I understand where you're like, well, what was this? It's not that it was so much, all right, here are the ones and the secret plays we're going to run with you, player one and player two. No, the difference was that it was much less drill based than the viewing session was last time. The viewing session last time was very deliberately giving you nothing. You could see players moving. Yes, they're throwing passes, catching passes, practicing handoffs, all that kind of stuff. But there wasn't much instruction going on the first time we had that viewing session. This time, there was a little more instruction. I saw Phil Montgomery talking to the quarterbacks after they made throws. Saw Marcus Davis talking to his guys. Saw Marcus Davis correcting guys on the routes that they were running. But what you did get to see here was very clear to me, which is why the comment about TJ concerned me is I don't know how in the hell you would be able to tell who's a 1 from a 3 out there because everybody's mixed up. We saw an offensive lineman who was clearly maybe a second or a third string offensive lineman out there with wide receivers who I don't know how you want to view it, but in my mind, that's probably going to be a starter right there. There really is no 1, 2, 3. Can somebody be the first quarterback to start this drill? Sure. Can somebody be the first wide receiver at X as we're practicing some of these routes? Sure. There was clearly an intent to mix up who was on the field with who. And I guess they're trying to gauge how these guys are going to handle it. I could not discern a clear 1, 2, 3 from what they did for a full hour that we were out there. Now, Mike, with what you saw, did you see anything that looked like a pecking order for the QBs or any position for that matter?
Yeah, they had a lot of interesting mixtures out there at every group. So it sounds to me, it looked to us like Auburn is really trying to figure out which combination of what players are going to work well together. Look, guys, I saw a wide receiver combination that really got me worked up, right? Like it was Coy Moore, Jay Fair, and Nick Martner out there together. I was like, "Ooh, we gonna do this?" Because y'all know how I feel about Jay Fair
And Martner now.
And Martner, unfortunately, my boy Malcolm looks like he's dealing with some injury stuff at this point. He was on the sideline, but just the idea of the experience of a Coy, the range of a Martner, and the quickness of a Jay Fair on the field at the same time. And then just in my imaginary perfect world, Fairweather out there too, just doing something because those guys are big. All the tight ends are big, man. They beefed up. It was exciting to watch. So, kind of drifting back to quarterback, I think they want to give all these guys a chance to work with all these other guys.
Right.
And I would say, based on what Hugh Freeze said about not narrowing down things in the spring, that's more likely, just because you're the first person to go out doesn't mean you're going with the ones.
Right.
And to Brian's point, what is a 1? right now. This is a new coaching staff. They're starting all over with just about everybody. I mean, there are only a couple guys that I'm just like, he's a dude, and he's Hugh Freeze's dude.
Yeah.
In the fall, Jarquez Hunter's cleats, Jarquez Hunter's gloves, right? Jarquez Hunter's visor, anything Jarquez Hunter is wearing, probably going to start in the fall. You know, and then on defense, you know, we know the DJ Jameses and the Keontae Scotts of the world are going to play. Outside of that, man, there's a whole ass competition going on at every position. At offensive line, you know, Hugh Freeze made some comments about Tate Johnson being like a leader. I said, hey, is he a standout? He was like, I ain't saying he's a standout, though. Coach, you just said he was a standout.
For his leadership.
yeah, whatever. That's what you putting him on the field. Come on, man. Stop playing games with me.
Play on the
he might just be saying in the locker room he's good at galvanizing people, but if we being real, these other dudes better.
Right. And so
I mean, he's killing in the film room. He's killing in the film room.
His eyes be all the way open during film sessions. Right. So all I'm saying is, number one, Hugh Freeze's comment to us about not narrowing anything down is cap. He's narrowing it down in his head. He ain't telling us, but he's narrowing something down. But at the QB position, I believe it's true. And I believe that's what he was talking about when he was talking about not narrowing things down. Because everybody wants to know about the QB position. I didn't ask specifically about QBs when I asked him that question, but he gave me a QB position answer, and I'm taking it. So to round this whole thing out, there's a whole wide open competition. He even said that how these guys do will dictate what we do in the portal after the spring to some extent. Yeah. So TJ running with the ones after 3 practices? I'm not buying that. I think that TJ, much to a lot of people's chagrin, though, has a much better chance of winning this job than most people thought coming into the spring, ourselves included, because he had just kind of disappeared at the end of last season. So it was kind of out of sight, out of mind. And then Hugh Freeze came back and reminded us that, hey, man, listen, everybody who's here is in this race.
Yeah.
If you put on a jersey, if you put on the orange and blue, and you went out there to practice, you're in the race. Show out, move up, earn yourself a spot, guys. That is the name of the game this spring for Auburn football. So, the QB is going to, and I hate saying this because everybody says, the QB takes way too much of the blame and way too much praise or whatever, how the saying goes. But there are going to be there are a lot of eyes on that position, but there should be just as many eyes on the offensive line, on the linebacker room, and on that D-line this spring as well, too, because those, to me, are the positions that are going to dictate how Auburn football goes or doesn't go in 2023. So QB is fascinating to me right now. There were some interesting takes, man. God, if you guys watched Locked On, Blackerby was down on the QBs. He was down in hell on the QBs. And I was like, we were watching practice.
He's not the only one, Mike, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but I mean,
okay.
he's one of the only ones I know talking about him on camera. And I'm like,
that's fair.
I didn't see the same thing out there. I saw some spring QBs. I saw some good throws. I saw some bad throws. And the whole thing about them looking bad against air, to me, is a little overblown. Because I didn't see anybody really look bad against air.
It's not a little overblown. It's vastly overblown.
Overblown, right? Yeah. And so, to me, the person that I think did look like he was falling behind, and it disappointed me a whole lot, was Holden Geriner.
Has that been the surprise so far to you?
Yeah, Holden Geriner looked off, guys. He looked off. He looked inaccurate. He made some good throws out there, but he did look inconsistent to me. And it seems as if that they're wherever he falls in the pecking order in terms of how they were doing things, that's been recognized. So he's got he's got a lot of ground to make up. I'm disappointed in that. I thought he would be more of a contender this spring, and I thought he was the one who had the most to gain this spring out of all the QBs coming back. So, we're going to talk a lot about Robby and TJ, but Holden, I thought, just had a chance behind a much improved O-line to just make a huge jump that the other two maybe have might have a harder time making. And it was disappointing to see him either on par or behind those guys in the areas that I felt like were strengths for him.
I get in here and weigh in. I've held you off long enough. You got some things you want to say. Floor is yours.
All right. So here's the thing. Anybody making a big deal about where the QBs are from at most an hour and 15 minutes of watching them over the course of what they've had is what today is Wednesday, 8 practices now. You watched an hour and 15 at most from 8 practices, and now you've made an assessment of where we are with our QBs.
Has it been 8? I think it's only been 3.
No, they had a full week last week, and then 3.
Every day.
That was out last week.
I mean, the
Last
week
week
before
was
last.
spring.
Excuse me. The week before last, they had the first week of practice, those 5 days, and then they had 3.
I only had 3 practices that week, though. I don't think it.
So that means if they had 3 practices this week, then 6 then.
It's 4.
Today.
4.
Yesterday, Monday
Yesterday
was 4.
All right.
Today is 5. Okay.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got an hour at most still, and practice is longer than an hour just on one day, if I'm not mistaken. They don't practice for just an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, of the total time that they've been practicing, you've made a decision as to how they're going to perform based upon that small viewing window. Again, I'm not saying don't report what you saw, but to draw conclusions or extrapolate that when you've seen a small portion of it. That's the same thing I get mad at people taking a piece of what we say on here and making that the entirety of the opinion that we formed. You don't have enough information to have an opinion. You just don't. You can talk about what you saw, but to extrapolate that to an opinion or move it forward to we're in trouble is too much. It's too much and it's overhyped, and I need you to pump the brakes just a little bit. Again, he looked inconsistent to me on those throws that I saw. We're in trouble for the fall. Vastly different opinions. And one of them is too much to say. And to say, well, if they're doing that against air, what are they going to do against competition? There's a lot of people who look great against air and look terrible against competition. Mm-hmm. And there are people who are vice versa.
Right.
You can't make that much of an opinion based upon 2 viewing periods that lasted at most an hour plus. At most. Yeah. It's just too much for me. For me, it's too much.
So I'm okay with anybody who still thinks that the QB is not in this QB room.
That's fine.
But
to say
so
we're in trouble
clear,
is still different. Thing.
That's based on whole body of work from last season and more, not so much on what we saw at practice. To me, right? Because I don't know, man. There's still a lot of time to work,
and I guess that's my point: is that there's still a lot of work that is left to be done, and I don't know. I mean, but you know what? Let me back up. Maybe other people are better evaluators of talent than I am, and they can see from a very small
never been wrong.
Size.
Not one time about anybody.
They can see from a smaller sample size than I can about what we're going to be in the fall. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I need to back off and say, you know what, you have better eyes for this than I do.
Maybe that's true. But my question to you and to the rest of the guys
here
hold on.
Is... Let me finish one more portion of this though, because I think a lot of this, if we're being honest, is people not wanting to acknowledge that TJ looked the best. And so if you're saying TJ's the best, we're in trouble. I think that that's a big portion of this.
Yes,
because they were hoping to see other people make strides, and if TJ's leading, we must be in trouble. Right. And I think that that's a large portion of where that extrapolation of information is coming from. Is not really that nobody's looking good. It's that I don't think they're going to beat out TJ based upon what I've seen. We're in trouble.
Right.
But I thought the coach was going to the portal though. So it shouldn't even matter what these guys do. You've been, some of these people have been looking past these guys for months, right?
But it don't, just because you can go to the portal, it don't mean the portal go give back.
Even if you go to the portal, there's no guarantee that TJ doesn't beat the portal. Like, I think people listen. I've been saying this for a while. Just allow yourselves to feel braced for it. TJ FInley could win this QB race. Mm-hmm. Get over it. Yeah. I'm not saying he will. I haven't gone to a single practice. I ain't seen him throw, but I do know what his leadership abilities are. I do know that he's a very intelligent young man who can grasp systems. I know he can make every throw on the field necessary. He's a turnover machine, and we will look at statistics here in just a minute.
Yeah.
I get all of that. But if you're telling me that you were hoping that Holden Geriner, a guy who only played a couple of snaps last season, and Robby Ashford, a guy who was inconsistent as well, is going to make a bigger leap in one offseason than TJ is capable of making in one offseason, you're not being genuine about the ability for someone to make a leap in an offseason. Why can those guys make a leap, but TJ's incapable of doing it? Just because you've seen him for more snaps? That's a silly assessment.
Okay, all right. So wait, I'm gonna make some people mad. I'm gonna make some people mad, and it's been a while.
It's called Days That End in Y.
For today,
right? And it's gonna be a way I have made everybody mad in a second, right? But then when I say, guys, I've seen enough of Bo. You're on the field, off the field, in the practice. I've seen enough. Oh, Mike G, you hate Bo. You just blah, 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 blah. Right? And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, can we just quit the double standards when it comes to this? Right? None of these guys played as much as he did.
No, and that's my point. None of them have played as many snaps.
In 2 years, none of them has played as much as he did. Right? And so after 2 years, if you were like, this is the year, then you should have that same energy for these guys.
Yeah. Yep.
But I don't know how you watched the first 2 years of him and were optimistic going into year 3.
Right.
Because what was on tape was just as inconsistent as what we saw.
Right.
And I would argue, even though the O-line wasn't all world, it was worse for these guys last year than it was any of the 3 years he played quarterback.
You don't even have to argue it like that. There are metrics.
The bottom fell out. The bottom fell out last
Not
year.
to mention the system fell out as well, too.
Sure.
Yeah.
The coaching staff literally fell out in the middle of the season. Come on, man. Just give these guys a shot, dude.
So is it fair to say that we should just give this an entire spring and then assess how they look in live action?
That's all I'm saying. And I'm not saying any of these guys is the best thing since sliced bread. So
let them wait a minute. Let them have the entire time that the coaches are going to use to evaluate before we make a decision.
Yeah,
that's ludicrous. How dare you suggest that they have the entirety of the time the coaches are going to need to make their assessment for us to pick who we want as fans to be the quarterback?
But should I resign? Should I resign now, Ike, for making that suggestion?
I don't even know what we're talking about.
Wait.
That's crazy.
But you know, at the end of the day, when you look at what Coach Hugh Freeze is trying to do for Auburn, what he's trying to do for these young men, it just means give these guys a shot, let them work. Let's try not to make judgments on what we've seen so far. But that's another reason why I was a little disappointed by him saying we narrowing another thing down from the fall. That means you're not going to give us any real information about who's actually leading, even if they are actually leading.
Right.
I think that. Right. Sure. You know, it was when Cam got here, they had a hard time evaluating him in the spring. Chizik, and I quote, "See, we don't know if that would have been a 5-yard run or 80-yard run." He's a really hard quarterback to evaluate in the spring. Right. But you know what they did before summer workouts started? They named Cam Newton starting quarterback. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, if no QB comes in from the portal. He's not saying that
Cam is on the campus now, guys.
No. This is not comparison
he's using an example.
Right.
Continue.
But no, we don't make examples on here. All we do is make hardcore statements about stuff, and you have to take it within the context of what we said it strictly, because there's no other way to read into anything we say.
Exactly. 16 years, like I said. Damn it.
So all I'm saying is, when it comes down to it with these guys, you know, at the end of the spring, Hugh Freeze is going to have an idea of who's leading, right? That person. I had questions about how they're getting feedback as well, too. I think it's important for players to know where they stand.
For sure.
Right.
Listen, man, you didn't have a good spring. Right. Or even though there's not an official pegging order, you fell behind.
Yeah.
Consistency is an issue for you. Mm-hmm. Right. You need to pay closer attention to detail. What kind of feedback are these guys getting? I just have more questions about his coaching style. When I asked the question, he didn't really give me much. And it's going to be for quarterback, especially, it's going to be really important for them to get the feedback in real time if they are to correct mistakes and catch up to whatever the expectation from this coaching staff is in the short amount of time that is spring practice.
Right.
So these practices matter. 8A matters. Everything you do matters from here on out if you're going to be the starting quarterback. And if you're to believe that a player can come in after the spring and take the job, there's no reason to believe that somebody who's participating in the spring can't make that same jump over the summer. It's going to take a lot of work on your own. Somebody tweeted at me, "Hey, Mike, you and B. Will said players need to be working. So here's a video of Robby working." I responded to her and I said, "Hey, listen, I firmly believe this is where starting jobs are won. And the work nobody sees that they're putting in. So just because we didn't see it in practice doesn't mean the work isn't being put in. And, it might all come together it might all click for a guy in the first week of fall camp. You just never know, man. This race sounds like it's going to go into the first week of fall camp. And then you're going to have to pick a quarterback that's leading and pick a starter and start to prepare for game one.
It will be interesting to see how quickly into fall, if he's not going to declare a pecking order coming out of spring, how quickly into fall they're like, okay, this is our guy. And that's going to be very interesting because I don't want to wait until week one. I don't personally, as a fan, want to. But again, it's not really my decision. It's not like because I don't want it, Hugh Freeze is going to be like, man, I heard that guy from Ike from the War Report doesn't want me to wait, so we might need to bump this decision up a little bit.
No. It's Mike is dying of lupus. We gotta bump this up so he can know. We just need him to know before he goes.
Tug on the emotions. I like that. I like that strategy. I like that. I like that strategy. We're one from one. To your point, we're 1 for 1 doing that.
Yeah. So I just think spring is exactly what I wanted it to be. A bunch of really intense battles that are ultimately going to make everybody better. I think that's what the spring is.
We'll talk more about the QBs statistically, what they've done up to this point on the field in games. We'll definitely look at that stat, talk amongst ourselves. Let's hear from you guys. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Scorpio in the squad says, "You ain't bugging, you must not be looking." Not bad.
That felt very Don King right there. It felt very Don King. I like it.
Yeah, for sure. Dallas Schwartz says there are no ex-Marines. Title earned, never given.
Dallas, is this my dad tweeting or messaging as Dallas right here? Did my dad get a ghost account to come in? Because that feels like something my dad would say. I mean, he's a Marine, so of course.
Valencia Jackson says, "What's going on with Georgia recruiting violations?"
I don't know any details, but there are rumblings.
There's a podcast that you're on, Ike. Oh, yes. Let's plug this podcast that you're on.
Yeah. Yes. The Amen Corner. We shall discuss this. I will make sure to bring this up to my guy Paul Meharry. Oh yes.
Hey Paul.
Yeah, we will definitely talk. He's not gonna want to talk about it. But me and Kenny will make sure about it. Yeah, me and Kenny will make sure it gets talked about for sure.
Corey Weber says, "Appreciate the super chat." He says, "More likely to happen, defense finish top 3 in the SEC or offense finish top 8 with talent currently on the roster." So we're not talking about any pickups over the summer, just who we have currently.
Yeah, because there's a causality from one to the other, I'm going to say offense top 8. Because that seems like a much easier task than me. I mean, they've been in and around kind of that number at least some in the last 4 years. But again, when we get to look at some of these numbers, you'll understand why I'm saying that. I just think, and with any improvement, if we improve, top 8 is most likely. But I think with that improvement, top 3 for defense might also be possible too. Right. Both these things could be true.
Yeah.
With an offense that moves the ball and gives these guys time and wins time of possession, a top 3 defense, if they can get the pass rush going, like we talked about this morning, be on the morning drop, could be possible. So I don't know, man. I think Auburn has a lot more talent than people are giving them credit for. And with the proper coaching, we could see a surprising record in year one if they can get over, if they can figure out how to close games. With all things equal, think about all the close games they lost last season. I mean, they enough to win, to make it to a bowl.
For sure.
Because they won 5 games. And I mean, think about the LSU game, the Mississippi State game.
Yeah.
You know, like, come on, man. There were possibly 7 or 8 wins on that schedule if they know how to close.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we're looking at improvement, right? So we're talking about improvement. Yeah, I think top 3 for both is definitely possible. Top 8 and then top 3 is definitely possible.
Okay.
No shutouts this year though. No shutouts.
Okay. Misa AT Alien says, I think more is happening during practice and coaches playing the long game. Either way, I refuse to be that down on the QBs this early.
It's a little early. That was really my whole point. It's a little early.
You throwing the season away in March.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, I'm not ready to throw the season away in March because I believe that the season will go as the QBs go. I'm not ready to throw the season away in March.
Yeah.
I think people are just banging on the doors of the transfer portal store, waiting on it to open. I think is what people are doing.
I don't know how you could be a Hugh Freeze optimist and be this down on the QBs though, right? He's
early,
the QB whisperer,
right? He hasn't the
3
guys have not even had enough time to coach them on anything. Right? I just don't.
He stressed that too, Ike. Yeah. He stressed that. I'm not spending any time with these guys, so like I got to get in and coach them and. You know, after spring, if you still feel this way, you're still wrong, but okay. At least it'll be more plausible after the spring rather than practice 4.
I think that's a great point that you guys have made about giving a coach time to work his magic. I just don't think he's a miracle worker. No one is as it pertains to this. It's going to take some time. John Brandon says Freeze can't afford to make a mistake in finding the starter. I trust he is using all of his abilities to find that guy. Whoever he finds, we have to believe he has seen something in them.
I agree with John, but I will just say I'm willing to leave room for mistakes as long as you recognize it early and make changes before the season goes down the drain.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, I'm with it. I can roll with mistakes, baby. Where I can't roll with our egos when it comes to those mistakes.
Right.
Sure. Like a lot of people want to be wrong and strong at the same time, and I'm like, make the change and try to do what's in the best interest of the team early. That's why it's important for all these guys to show this coach that they can be the leader that he's looking for.
Right.
Hugh Freeze is looking for a leader, guys. He talked about what his ideal SEC QB looks like. If I'm any one of these guys, I'm taking notes and I'm trying to emulate that guy every single day he sees me.
Yeah. In
the classroom, in the parking lot, in the shower, in the weight room, in his office, everywhere.
Why would he see you in the shower?
I don't know. I don't know how they shower in the locker room, but hey, I'm just saying, you might walk through the locker room and be like SEC QB, right?
I don't want to talk about that no more. I want to just go.
Hey, yo, coach.
I'm just saying, this man was pretty clear about what he thinks an SEC QB is. A guy who doesn't get down on his mistakes. A guy who moves on pretty quickly. I guess it's going to remain 5 for 5 minutes here. And you know, who does the thing, who doesn't make it on his list that he talked about, and that, you know, does all the things that the same way he talked about Tate Johnson. The same way he talked about Tate Johnson in the press conference. That is how he wants to talk about his starting QB. I promise you.
Yeah.
That's what these guys, if I were one of them and I heard that comment, I'm like, Tate, let's hang out. We're going out to lunch. Because coach loves your ass. And I need him to love me the same way, baby, because I'm trying to be the starter in the fall.
Sure,
Talk to Tate.
Hashtag.
Hashtag talk to Tate. Get that trend in Auburn Twitter. Hashtag talk to Tate.
Erica Ratney says, when the transfer portal window opens again, we may be having a whole different conversation about a whole new group of potential playmakers. How long has it been since that has happened?
Yeah, I mean, I ain't got a lot. I think I got a lot of playmakers right now. But transfer portal has changed the game, right? Like,
Sure.
Yes.
so I'm just it's after spring. I'm not super excited about those guys.
Facts.
Yeah, the after spring guys. I'm like, these are the dudes who lost.
You're looking at anomalies at that point. If you're talking about difference makers for your team, you're looking at for outliers.
Yeah, unless you're
at
coming
this
from
point.
a program stacked with talent.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right.
And there's only a handful.
And I think that's kind of my point about the transfer pool. I haven't really made a ton of points, but like, where are you guys seeing the potential if this guy doesn't win the starting position? That guy who's behind him is a dude. We need to go after him if he hits the point. I just don't know where that person exists right now that's actually played any real football.
you really
I
don't
think
know
a lot
this.
of people think it's McCall. A lot of people think it's McCall, and
But he's not going to lose the starting job in his. So he's just going to leave. That's different. I'm talking about these people who think that somebody's going to transfer who lost the opportunity. There is no universe that I can see currently where Grayson McCall loses the starting job at Coastal Carolina, but should come to Auburn. Why would he? Why would he lose the Coastal Carolina job?
He gonna be losing. He gonna be losing on purpose, ground the balls. Oh, right, dang, coach!
I don't know what are we talking about here. So again, where is this number 2 QB that people are seeing somewhere else? A lot of people keep mentioning Ole Miss. None of those guys can transfer, folks. They can't, or not and play for Auburn in the fall. All of them are transfers into Ole Miss. They can't do it. Yeah. Georgia, they have a bunch of talent. None of those guys have played any snaps.
Right.
So I don't know what you're looking for in that situation. Ohio State, none of those guys have played any snaps. Texas, the only guy who could lose the job is probably a guy who hasn't taken any snaps. Why would he transfer? He just got there. I'm trying to understand what is this QB situation that people are looking at and they're saying, this could be a guy if he loses that starting job. There aren't a bunch of talented QB rooms like that across America, folks. There just aren't.
Did y'all see the tweet I sent y'all about Georgia and potential recruiting violations?
Yeah,
somebody someone commented.
Hopefully, it's bad enough that we could maybe raid that QB room a little bit.
But again, none of those guys have ever played
fraudulent championships. They cheated. They cheated when it was legal to cheat. We want your players, all of them.
I don't know that I want any of those QBs is my point, because I've literally never seen them play a collegiate.
It's like Monopoly where you pick up the little car, you violated. Pay Auburn 2 QBs and 2 defensive linemen. It's like, why us? With the NCAA, get the whatever the reward is. No, pay it to Auburn right now, Kirby.
Let me get through these real quick, gentlemen. Oda Smith, $2. Appreciate that. Says no fly zone 100%. Talking about defense, top 3. James Barnett says, fellas, did you hear what Crime Dog said about the QBs? He was asked about the DBs versus receivers, and he said the QBs were putting the balls where only the receiver could get it. That doesn't sound like panic to him.
That's a defensive guy saying, hey, we couldn't get to any of them throws.
Yeah,
and we weren't allowed to watch that.
Thank you. That's what I was just about to say. We didn't see any offense versus defense. It's all we saw was offense with offense, going through their drills, yes, throwing to the wide receivers, throwing to some running backs, throwing to the tight ends, but that's the stuff that we haven't been allowed to see, so we don't have any input on that. But I mean, listen, man, I can't say that all of them looked awful. Like, nobody was sailing the ball 10 yards over people's heads. Like, I mean, it's kind of hard to look awful at practice, and there by no stretch did any of the players look awful at practice. It's just that they don't look as sharp as you would hope that they look on every single throw. That's the extent of what I can say is probably the best way to summarize what you see from QBs in the viewing period that we have. So if a coach there is saying, hey man, I don't know, it sounds like we're picking it off all the time, I'm encouraged.
Guys, you're watching the Midweek Rapport, brought to you by auburnsports.com. Guys, we're having a great discussion about this. Don't be stingy with this content. Share it on Facebook, Twitter. Use the hashtag, even at us. Smash the like button. Subscribe. if you are new to the channel. Let's pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial future, let Athletic Architects help you to build your financial house. Head over to BuildTheHouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil is your #1 place for all of your motor oil and related products. For more information, visit WarEagleOil.com.
Yes, indeed. Make sure that you all go and patronize the sponsors. But speaking of patronizing people, you can become a patron of the War Report right now if you click the join button. We want you guys to come on board and be a part of the Green Name Gang. Nobody put in, as soon as I say this, somebody's going to absolutely do it. Nobody remind me that you guys want t-shirts with that. I got the message. All right. But anyway, be a part of the Green Name Gang. Come on board with us. $5.99 gets you to the patron level, and you can be a part of the elite squad of Auburn fans that have all the knowledge necessary to go out there and win internet battles with trolls. So we're going to equip you with all of that. Membership gifting can happen if you are a member and want to be able to give someone the gift of the War Report for 1 month. You can do that right now from the live chat. Make sure that you guys go ahead and hit that gift box, and then YouTube will randomly assign that to someone who they have deemed as worthy of that free month of membership, and we appreciate all of that. We give away stuff all the time, and we are giving away a War Report mug. Hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat. Sponsored by War Eagle Oil. War Eagle Oil, again, is your place for all of your motor oil and motor-related products. Head to WarEagleOil.com to be able to support them in whatever way is going to be necessary for your vehicle. But hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat to be able to get in on that. We talked about this conversation that's going to be happening on our podcast in the Amen Corner. But to find those podcast conversations, you need to head to the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, wherever you listen to podcasts. Always great listens, audio only content going up over there. So things that you can't hear on YouTube, you can definitely go listen to over there. So if you're only listening or watching on YouTube, you are not getting all of the information that we're putting out there weekly. So head over to listen to the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, and we appreciate that.
Gentlemen, let's take a deeper dive into our QBs, especially those who we have stats on. As of last year, let's kind of take a look at how they have played up to this point. I think this is all their stats combined total, not just last year, right?
Correct. This is all starts that they've had or all playing opportunities they've had at Auburn. So this is not for TJ FInley include anything at LSU.
Okay. Gotcha. Let's take a look at these guys. And you can see the stats here from top to bottom. You got TJ FInley, Robby Ashford, Holden Geriner, and Sawyer Pate. Of course, Sawyer Pate has not seen any live game action. Holden Geriner, as you recall, touched the field when Ashford got a little dinged up for a series. He went out there for a series, and you can see his numbers there. I think he was out there for maybe 2 series, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe 1 series.
Robby Ashford series, but yeah. It's like the end of a series and then the start of the next one.
Gotcha. You see Robby here, played 12 games, 250 attempts, 123 completions for a 49% completion percentage, 1,600 passing yards, 134 yards per game, 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 153 rush attempts, rushed for 710 yards, won 3 games, lost 6. TJ, by that same stretch, similar stretch, has played a total of 13 games at Auburn, 181 attempts, 103 completions for a 57% completion percentage, 1,200, a little over 1,200 yards, 96 yards per game, 7 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 37 rush attempts for a -3 yards, 2 wins, 4 losses. These are the stats of these guys here. Obviously, we expect some of these numbers to change. Different system, different coaches. Thoughts on the stats so far, guys? Jump in.
Well, the passing percentage is, I mean, just throw out Holden's numbers, right? Like, that was all Missouri, right?
Yes,
right.
It was all Missouri game.
It was all Missouri game. But when you look at Robby and TJ, man, these guys have had tough sledding based on coaching. and the system, and it just hasn't been good for anybody. Quarterbacks stand out though because they touch the ball every play, but the system definitely affected everybody. I'm looking at Robby Ashford, man, and it's really hard to ignore those 710 rushing yards last year. Yikes, man. Both 7 touchdowns. Robby had a couple more interceptions. And even though TJ technically played in more games, I think Robby had more starts. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So we expect him to be leading a little bit more in some of these categories in terms of attempts. So 250 attempts, 123 completions. He played most of last season hurt, but still had a lot of issues on intermediate throws. So he's going to have to improve on that. And then games won, that's a tough category because that's, it's like, to me, I don't know, man. It's just really difficult when, you're a pitcher, right? You pitch a shutout and the closer comes in and blows it. You don't get the win.
Right.
Auburn lost a lot of games last year because of a lot of different reasons, not just quarterback. So I'm not really too focused on that games won, games lost stat because shit, guys, like, what do you do with that? Like, what do you do with the team? They fired the coach, man.
Yeah.
They fired the coach, and it wasn't because of quarterback that they fired the coach. Fired the coach midseason. So, to me, the games won loss is more a symptom of overall team function than it is what these guys specifically did. So this is going to have to improve. I mean, Robby's numbers, if he's the starter, this number is going to have to double. Right, guys?
Not the wins losses, but yeah.
right, yeah. More than 6. But I'm talking about the passing yards per game is what I was referring to. Thanks, B.
Yeah.
That number is going to have to just about double for him to have been viewed as taking a significant step forward into becoming an SEC QB. Yards per game is going to have to about double. He's going to be up north of 200, man. If you're going to be an SEC QB, throwing for less than 200 yards in a game, man, is just really difficult unless he's running for 150 a game. But Auburn needs an offense, and if you're throwing for less than 200, even if he's not running the ball, it's going to be really difficult. That means that balance that we talked about earlier this week is probably way out of whack. Now, I don't think that Auburn can win games being too far out of whack in terms of pass to run ratio unless they're dominant in the run game. That's putting a lot of pressure on that O-line and that run blocking. And in the SEC, when you get one-dimensional, you give even average teams a chance to catch up. So these guys have to improve. I think that's just the bottom line. The numbers we're looking here are pathetic, right? These numbers are pathetic.
Not great.
Yeah, like these numbers are ass.
This is the floor, right?
Right. But there are reasons for these numbers that cannot be, they deserve context. And everybody has to improve regardless of what's around them to some extent. So you can clearly say, hey, man, he did all he could do. He can't do anymore.
Right.
Guys around him need to improve. If I'm the quarterback, that's what I'm trying to get.
Yep.
B. Will, your thoughts on these numbers and just what you expect to see realistically from, assuming these guys are in the mix in the fall. These are the guys that Hugh Freeze is working with. Obviously, we expect to see improvement, but how much realistically, in your opinion?
I have agreed with Mike that the work that quarterbacks do in the offseason is incredibly important. But I think that work that you can do in the offseason as a football player, not just as a quarterback, but as a football player, your improvement is limited because you get better at football by playing football. And you have to be reacting to defenders. You have to be thinking as quickly as it takes to think. The reason we see practice warriors that don't pan out on the field on game day is because that pressure is different. It is markedly different. Basketball, something like basketball, you can improve. You know why? Because you need to teach your body how to do a skill. And it's more about getting your body used to certain movements that it can't do. Like I saw the other day, I was watching some Jabari Smith highlights, and he actually put the ball on the ground and he drove. He was at the 3-point line, put the ball on the ground, drove, and finished with a layup. He may have done that like twice the entire season at Auburn. The entire season. That was one of the things. Like, he's not really a put the ball on the guy and go get a bucket guy. Now, he's been picking up his scoring here recently, but now when do you think he put that in his bag? The reason is, or well, not when, but why? Well, you know that he's not a threat to drive it. The same used to be said about Klay Thompson. And really like 2 years ago, Klay, well, right after he came back from getting hurt, Klay started putting the ball on the ground, because when you know what your deficiencies are, and I've heard Kobe Bryant talk about this, go add to your game. Why? Because you and a bucket is really all you're ever going to need. If you learn how to, you want to learn how to dribble left-handed, do you need to play basketball all year left-handed? Or do you need to dribble night and day left-handed until dribbling left-handed becomes natural? Muscle memory, habits. You can build that with basketball, because the game really only needs you and a ball on the floor and a bucket, of course. In football, you have to push somebody. You have to outrun somebody. You have to be able to react to what a defender is trying to do to get you down, and learn how you're going to now elude defenders when they try whatever that defender tried. It has to be during the game. There's not enough snaps to go around for these dudes. There is not. For scrimmages during the spring, there's not enough snaps. If there was a 90 play scrimmage, listen, TJ Finley's not going to get 90 plays. Robby Ashford's not going to get 90 plays. Holden Geriner's not going to get 90 plays. Somebody's going to get shorted. It's going to be a few. A-Day. We're talking about all the time. A-Day. Oh, I wish we had seen more of Holden. Holden got like what, one series in A-Day last year?
Mm-hmm.
What? How are you going to improve? You can work on your mechanics. You can become a better thrower. But for you to be accurate under pressure, for you to process information, not only that the coaches are giving you, but that the defense is giving you, you're going to have to be in that situation. And if we don't have one guy who's so clearly ahead of everybody else that he's not getting those snaps in game situations yet, like Robby got that, but you can throw away half of what Robby got as far as information, because he was getting it from a coach who wouldn't even be there. The system. What did he learn playing in Brian Harsin's offense that's going to be translatable to Hugh Freeze? I don't know. If there was anything, I honestly don't know. He looks so much better and so much more clear-minded playing under Cadillac. Fortunately, Cadillac is still here. So maybe they did learn something about what he can process right now, what he can do, and how he gets to the next level. And that's an advantage of having played. TJ, he looks the part for a while, and he sounds the part. And then he throws INTs that I can't even understand why that came out of your hand. And this is what I mean by you get better by playing the game. Because if you had told me, all right, I'm going to show you the highlights of TJ's first 2 games, just the highlights, I'd have been like, oh, yeah, we got one. We got one. We got a good one. We're good.
Can't say that, B. Will.
Oh, I know. You're right. You're right. Put some years on it. And so really the problem becomes, who is going to get the game reps to have the opportunity to improve? And then when you're actually getting those game reps, when wins and losses are at stake, when the stadium is full of 90-something thousand people, who is going to get those game reps? Because now you don't have time to mess up. If you were on the game basketball, on the court, in the gym, in the middle of the summer, and you working on your own game, it don't matter if you messed up the footwork on this. It's cool. Your assistant coach, if you're in the NBA, you got a dude just assigned to you. Hey, let me try that again. Give it back to me. And you're going to do it until you get it right. Now, when it comes to, hey, well, listen, man, they look, man, they're going to peel back in zone. When that happens, I need you to do this. Yeah, that didn't happen that much. And when you finally saw it, you threw a pick. Now, do I put you right back out there on the field to throw another pick? If they know what you're weak at, if they know that you can't actually identify what they're in to start with, am I going to give you another shot? Man, you really need more game snaps to improve. No, they're going to, man, get your ass on this bench. Why? The thing that's going to get you better is so valuable. Game reps that I can't afford to waste it with you if I think you can't make the leap that I need you to make. And that's what's so critical to me about this situation. I could say who I like, and I've said this before, and I'm just wrap this up quickly because I know I've been talking for a minute. I like Robby Ashford, not only in this system, not only with the creativity that I've seen from Hugh Freeze offenses, but because in critical moments when he was actually equipped to do well under Cadillac, he rose to those occasions. That includes Mississippi State. That includes the offensive output against Bama. And, of course, Western Kentucky and Texas A&M. At the very least, what I've seen is you put him in position to be successful and productive, and he can meet that challenge.
Right.
Now, with TJ, what I saw is here's some easy stuff. These are our 2 cupcakes that we start the season with. You're not under pressure on this throw, but you threw an interception. What happened there, guy who started all of camp number 1, getting high praise from the coaches? Now, it's true, he does have room to make up because he hasn't started that long. And that's something we forget about TJ. He's this many years in experience, but as far as snaps, limited, especially for somebody who's been in college for 3 or 4 years. I think TJ Finley can improve as a quarterback and as a player. When do you give him the snaps if that improvement costs us wins, productivity? I don't know how he gets it.
Yeah. So here's my thing with TJ. I think for a lot of people, with TJ winning them over is about practice TJ becoming game day TJ.
Right.
Simply put, practice TJ has to become game day TJ. And there are questions about whether he can become game day TJ without a superior offensive line. Now, here's how I feel about that, whether people think this is fair or unfair, but it's consistent. If you need perfect offensive line play to be a good QB, you're not a very good QB.
Right.
That's
Now,
fact.
I've had this same energy for every quarterback. Now, it does have to be much better than what it was, but you are not going to play under perfect circumstances, even 80% of your snaps.
Right.
In the SEC. The last QB to do that was Mac Jones. And his wide receivers, number 1, won the Heisman that year.
Yeah.
He had a protection rate of nearly 80%, which is by far one of the best line numbers in the SEC in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this for the people in the back. Mac Jones had better protection than any QB in the SEC in the last 10 years behind that O-line in 2020. It was insanely good.
Yep.
Now, I will say this. That is an anomalous number. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I watched 2 QBs win the Heisman behind with a lot of pressure in their face. One maybe had one of the best seasons of all time while taking 36 sacks in a single season. His name was Joey B. He took 36 sacks and he was constantly running. He was just so aware in the pocket. Now he's sneaky athletic.
Sure.
He's an underrated athlete. When you look at him, you don't think that guy's getting away from anybody, but he does kind of find a way to get away from people. And then I've given him my fair share of credit. I don't know why people are so down on his pro prospects, but Bryce Young was under a ton of pressure in 2 years at Bama, and he put that offense on his back. Didn't win a chip, but hell, they got to one.
Yeah.
And I think only 4 losses in his whole college career. So, perfect protection can't be the expectation. But when the throws are there and the protection is there, I do expect him to be able to make those throws to B's point. When there's no pressure in your face and and conditions are perfect, you need to make those throws definitely. And then you need to make your fair share of plays under pressure as well, too. It's not going to be perfect for him or for the line, but you still have to make plays under duress. That's the mark of a good QB.
Yeah.
Some people don't believe he could do it, guys. Like, some people don't believe he can be a good QB without perfect.
To be fair,
protection.
we haven't seen it.
Right.
We
haven't seen it.
And the point you made this morning, Mike, is some of the issues and mistakes that CJ's made had nothing to do with pressure at all.
Right.
So limiting those mental errors has to be mission number 1. That's with it. And we talked about this with Bo.
For any QB, because Robby had the same mistakes.
Right. Because what can you correct that's within your control. There's nothing you can do about O-line play, you as an individual player, but you can control how you see a defense. You can control how you progress, how you read your progressions in the pocket. You can control those things. So if he can handle what's within his control, to me, that's step number one. We can deal with how you play with the line and their line play later. You just have to prove that you're the guy when conditions are good.
Yeah. And that to me is why I would give Robby the edge, because he gives you more off schedule stuff when the O-line breaks down. So if he can figure out how to do the stuff that's routine to some of these other guys, right? Like hitting
He's a runaway.
Like there's not a competition at that point in time.
Right.
If he just ups his game on those, and Mike said a lot, the short to intermediate stuff, what he does off schedule makes him impossible to stop. So and I guarantee you that's what the coaches are working on. They're working on him making quick decisions, being very decisive with where he's going to go based upon what he's seeing, and making those throws consistently. I just don't know that he's had enough time, because again, you have to remember, it's not like he got to, as soon as the Iron Bowl was done, go out and start throwing again. He had to rehab his shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. So he's had a truncated time period that he was able to improve his ability with his accuracy. So again, like, I think people going back to we're in trouble at QB in week 2 of spring. We ain't had enough time to be in trouble. Like, it's too early to make that statement.
So
because one of the guys hasn't had an opportunity to work on the thing he needs to work on most. And the other guy, honestly, hadn't been with the team either, if we're being real.
Yeah.
So is it also too early to answer the question? Is Auburn's football starting QB in the portal?
Absolutely.
Or in the current room?
It's too early to answer that question for 2 reasons. We don't know what's in the QB room yet and how much more they can grow during this period that they actually have with all of these QB whisperers that everybody's heralded that we have on our staff. And we don't know who's actually entering the portal in the next period. So to assume that, some mythical Samson creature from the wilderness is walking into the QB portal and is going to come and save the day for Auburn, like that's a very huge assumption to make. My hope is that we figure it out with the guys in the room. And we don't have to go get around.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's too many people that think they know what's going on, but they haven't visited the Rogue Shop. They haven't gone to the Rogue Shop, and they definitely got some stuff. They definitely have some
stumbled a little bit into it.
Not your best work. Not your best work.
I was watching Ike's face, and I started laughing before I was done. but yeah, go to the Rogue Shop, 15% off. They got some stuff you can smoke that will help you see the end of this QB race.
Oh, hilarious. Joe Kyle, appreciate you hanging out with us, sir. He says, we know what we saw last year. TJ's a statue. Robby is erratic at mid-range. Robby has much higher ceiling. If it isn't Robby, it damn sure isn't TJ in my opinion.
He said damn, so you know he was serious.
Yeah, he put a little extra umph in. You said it with your chest there, Kyle.
Yeah. So Kyle is not Joe Kyle is not he's not a TJ believer, right? And I think based on body of the work, I think it's okay to be skeptical about what you haven't seen.
Right.
From these guys, because they have all taken the field. I just want to point out, like, all these guys played under the same dysfunction.
Right.
Yeah.
And we fired a coach mid-season because of that. So I would just say, if Hugh Freeze does pick TJ to be the starting quarterback, I would think that he sees the same things, but may know what to do with his talent more so than the last guy.
Guy, this is TJ's 4th OC.
I mean, it's tough for any. I mean, Bo went through it. It hurt him, right? Yeah. Jason Campbell went through it. It wasn't until year 4 that he showed his potential. Yeah, I mean, it's tough for any QB when you're constantly changing systems. It's just really tough. It's tough.
Yeah. Good talk, gentlemen. Let's get to this drawing. In case you haven't heard, we're giving away a mug, guys, courtesy of War Eagle Oil. # get your weight up in the comments to enter to win. Hopefully you've done so already. Ike's ready to draw. We shouldn't belabor the point.
Yeah, we get into it, man. We get into the money. 71 people put the hashtag in. Somebody's got to win it. Tonight, we are giving this mug away to, if present, Scotty King. That is a new name. I haven't seen Scotty King.
Scotty, if you are here, let us know.
For some reason, when I said Scotty King, I just felt like he owned a furniture store. But
I can see that. I can see the ring to that for sure. For sure. Let us know if you're here, sir. They're already saying you gone. Prove them wrong. Let's see. Ernest Vaughn says, C-Dub, well done on the pod, or done well on the pod. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. It was good filling in for Ike on the Amen Corner. Have fun chopping it up with those guys. Pretty knowledgeable dudes. Good convo. Had a good time there. John Brandon says, hear me out. If TJ could get to 60% completion and lower interceptions by half, without running game and solid D, that's all you need. That's all you need for championships.
Yeah. That's not a terrible thing to say, right? Like he was already at 57% based upon those statistics.
Yeah.
You cut the interceptions in half. That means that you're going to have a 2-to-1 ratio, which is about what you're going to need to be at with a solid defense. Yes, you could win 9-10 games with a 60% completion 2-to-1 ratio guy.
Yeah, I would only argue that based on historical SEC numbers, that completion percentage needs to be a little closer to 65 than 60.
Yeah. Depending on how good your D is, though. If your defense is really good, but
at 60%, I still feel like they're a little more.
And I think he meant with our running game and not without running game.
Yeah,
so with our running game. So
gotcha.
if you're going to run the ball really well, throw it at 60%. It just depends. We talked about needing to be dominant in one of those type offensive categories. Either you're going to be run dominant or you're going to be pass dominant. Balance is kind of a fictitious thing. Balance just means that you're able to utilize one to do the other one well. Then you're going to be really good offensively. So if we have a dominant run game with a quarterback that's throwing at 60%, especially if that 60% is coming on the money downs, right? Like third down is when we're going to be throwing a lot and you're hitting 60%. If you are a 60% completion guy and you're mostly throwing on third down, you're winning a lot of games.
For sure.
You're winning a lot of games with that.
Scotty King says he's here. No furniture store. Just FYI on that. So no sales here. What you can do, Scotty,
don't
email
tell
us.
Scotty.
Business at the War Report. We need your physical address. Send that to us, and that mug is coming your way. Congratulations, and thanks again for watching. We haven't had to do a lot of redraws lately. I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's we've been doing really well with that, so I'm happy to see that. Let's get through the rest of these. CM Pat says, here's my thing with Robby and TJ. Robby shouldn't be that close to TJ's numbers when Robby really hasn't played a lot of football. TJ has. Thoughts, guys?
I don't know that he's played that much football.
TJ?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, he's been around an extra year, but I don't know he's played that much football. Much more. I mean, we saw for sure he started less games. I mean, if you count the starts at LSU, then yeah, I guess because that is football. But I don't know, guys. Like, to me, it's just a lot of. To me, it's a lot of. It's a lot of dysfunction that he's played under both at LSU and at Auburn. So, like I said, technically, I mean, it is football. He played at LSU. He was a true freshman. He got thrown in because of injury, and we saw him his debut was spectacular against South Carolina. And it all kind of went downhill from there, but we know how that ended. So, for the coaching staff there. So I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I just think all these guys have a chance to improve.
All righty. B. Will's forehead says Grant Lloyd would have better stats if he had started, and you can't prove me wrong. We can only speculate. B. Will's forehead. Ike, any thoughts on this?
Comment on this?
Nope.
Okay. He's not even looking at the screen.
Yeah.
Wesley Hilson says my
taxes.
My take is all three guys were brought in by previous coaches. I have no trust in their evaluation right now. Would love for these guys to prove that Raw.
Don't trust their evaluation. Trust their development, though. That's what you should have trust in based on what they said. So, I'm listening. These guys have talent. We've seen it. They have talent. It's just how much can they get out of that talent, and how much will they allow the coaches to get out of their talent with their attitude and their effort. That's what we're looking at here. So, like I said, developing players is not just about developing them on the field, in terms of what they can do. It's developing them up here as well, too. So I would challenge Coach Hugh Freeze. Not only do you need to be a developer of QBs, you need to be a developer of young men as well, too. That's part of the job. So, so if a guy is not got his head up after a play, coach that. Coach that too. I don't think that falls outside the bounds of the head coach. Now, if you want a guy who's just going to be that, he might have a rough time recruiting, because there's a lot of different things you have to coach as a head coach, and this might sound like I'm preaching at a head coach, like I've been a head coach, and it's because I am. I don't need to be a head coach to know that being a leader is more than about just teaching people how to do something, right? It's about coaching the attitude while they're doing it and making them understand why that's an important part of the process. So, I hope that that's what we hear. I don't know, man. I don't feel like Gus was particularly good at this. Personally, I don't think Gus was particularly good at coaching people. X's and O's, sure. And then, there were some things he was good at. But, just some of the heavy-handedness with the discipline, right? It was clear he connected with some players more than others. And he showed a lot of favoritism.
Yeah.
Which I'm also not a big fan of. If you're a favorite, it needs to be because you are doing those things. But just because you're not doing those things doesn't mean you should automatically fall to the bottom of the pile. There's usually a reason. And those guys deserve to be coached, and they deserve to be counseled and mentored just as much as the guy doing everything from day one, if not more so. So, I hope he becomes that. I hope that's the guy he is. When it comes to some of these guys who may not be all the way there up here yet, get him there. That's what
I think he's proven that he can do that, though, right? Because let me say this, because he's given a lot of credit to Kent Austin and his ability to coach quarterbacks, right? And so Kent Austin is here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take the model, and this is the one that everybody likes to tout as Auburn fans, of Malik Willis, who by his own admission wasn't mature when he left the Auburn QB room, but he grew up at Liberty. And again, a lot of credit for his ability to kind of process and understand the mechanics of the QB position go to Kent Austin. But what Hugh Freeze is good at is getting people to understand, this is what I want you to do in my system. This is how we, like, if you guys listen to the clips of him coaching, he's talking about touchdown to first down, meaning we're gonna look at the deep shot first. We're gonna read the deep option first, and then we're gonna come back down, touchdown, first down, check down. It's usually how you're gonna be reading, these high-low passing options. You're gonna go deep first, and then you're gonna come to the first down, and you're gonna come to your check down, right? And he's just showing them, this is where your eyes should be in this particular, because this is what the play is designed to do. Your eyes should be here. This is where your read is going to be. Those are things that quarterbacks, some of them don't innately do. They don't have their eyes in the right position. They don't understand, these are the three options that I have on this play, but where should I be looking first? How quickly should I get off of that first option? What am I supposed to do to know that it's time to get off of that read? Is it a clock thing? Am I reading a DB? There's nuance to playing the quarterback position that some people just don't innately have. Can you teach that nuance? He's not going to correct your form. He's going to correct where your eyes are supposed to be and your clock. And those are things that both of these quarterbacks, if we're talking about TJ and Robby, need to be able to get better at.
Yeah. A lot of coaches don't mess with like throwing motion.
Because if you can throw the ball, you can throw the ball, right? Like it's just like mechanics are really more about it might look prettier in some instances, but you don't really want to mess with how some people throw, because then they're going to they get the yips all of a sudden, Like you see that with a lot of people in shooting motions in basketball. You mess up how their form is, and then all of a sudden they can't perform because that's not the way I've been doing it forever.
Or that's off-season work that you do with another coach, with a private coach, right? If you are trying to get a hitch out of your throw, or you're trying to get a quicker release, right? Like that's off-season work. A lot of coaches aren't going to mess with that. They will work with footwork because footwork is important to accuracy, but they're not going to mess with throwing motion.
Yeah. Guys, let's talk basketball. Auburn takes on the 9th seed. Auburn Tigers takes on the 8th seed Iowa Hawkeyes in Birmingham tomorrow, 5:50. Mike and Mike will be there covering the game. Guys, how you feeling about this game?
So.
Yeah, I mean, so honestly, and I've said this many times, depends on which Auburn team shows up. If we pack the defense that we have had at the beginning of the season that was keeping people under 60, we could beat anybody, even with poor shooting performance. If you're playing defense that well, it's hard, especially a team like Iowa that wants to get up and down on the floor and they want to push the pace and they want to score. This is what happened in the Missouri game. Missouri got demoralized really early in that game when they couldn't get buckets. And it was just hard for them to mentally get back into the space of, let's not just go up here and put up quick shots because we need to get back into the game. You take them out of the game early and you force them to start taking quicker shots because they want to try to score quickly and they might not be the best option. Then that just puts you in a position to continue to grow your lead, right? But if we do what we did against Arkansas, which is let them get out and run, let them get easy buckets in transition, they're going to have the ability to score in the half court because they run a pretty efficient offense and they have some good one-on-one scoring. They pass the ball really well. I watched a couple of some games. They are good passers in the half court. But to me, the key is going to be limiting them to one shot opportunity, not a bunch of offensive buckets, and stopping them from getting out in transition. If you can do those things and you turn it into a half court game and you make them have to earn their buckets in the half court, I like Auburn's chances in that game. But if it turns into a track meet, I don't know that we have the guys to run it like that.
Yeah. My thought is Auburn needs to win one game in this tournament.
Coach Pearl said today, like, if you think about this Auburn team, where would you rank them historically if they were able to pull off 2 wins in this tournament? Win this game and then go and beat likely Houston in the next round.
That's a Sweet 16 appearance.
Historically, now where do you put this Auburn team who, by everybody's metric, is just not as good, and we're just not, and we should be in the NIT. If they make the Sweet 16, you got to start putting some respect on them a little bit, right?
They're gonna have to go through Houston, which in my opinion is the best team in this tournament. So we'll see. I mean, I think you would have to rank them pretty high if they beat Houston.
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's going to be an underdog story like a mofo.
Yeah,
and maybe that's the motivation they need. But we will surely see.
They were all echoing make history. Like that's the thing I think that Coach Pearl's been pushing all season. But it's very clear that he understands to make a run in this tournament is going to be another historic run because nobody's expecting you guys to do anything.
Embrace the villain role.
What does Wendell have to do in this game, Mike? What do you need to see out of Wendell?
Wendell Green needs to score points
efficiently.
Yes,
a lot of points.
What you saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Wendell Green needs to score. I think.
You know what I'm saying, how many points? How many points does Wendell need to get?
Oh, I mean, I don't.
14, 12.
Well,
20?
it's more about efficiency to me. Like if
I was about to say it's got to be a product of how many shots he takes.
Yeah, he needs to make 4 of them. If he takes 10 shots, he needs to make 6 to 8 of them. He can't go 2 for 14, right?
Yeah,
so
I think Wendell
points
needs
that
to be.
means.
If he's around 60% from the field, regardless of how many shots he takes,
right,
and then he limits his turnover, because again, I just talked about pace. Your point guard is who's going to control the pace of that game for a large portion, right? For 2 reasons. They're going to be able to determine how quickly you get into your stuff offensively, like understanding what sets we need to get into, getting everybody in the right position, or pushing the pace in some sort of fast break, secondary break. But then secondarily, typically your guards are going to be the main responsibility for getting back if there's a missed shot, right? So Wendell Green is going to be a guy along with Zep Jasper, KD, Trey Donaldson, needs to be able to make sure that they're not pushing pace and tempo the opposite direction. If they're even off, because I was going to push it off of a make, guys. They're going to make a bucket and they're going to try to inbound the ball up to the timeline. All right. It's not going to be one of these inbound the ball in the paint and then dribble the ball up the floor. They're pushing off of makes. So you have to get back in transition defense and make it more difficult for them to figure out how to get into some of that early offense stuff that they want to do. Your point guard is going to be responsible for that. Make or miss, go find their point guard and make it difficult for him to get up the floor.
Yep.
Joe Kyle says, box of chocolates.
Never know what you're going to get. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Unfortunately.
Lisa Daniel says, please no Alabama talk. I'm sick of their fan base. Please appreciate that, Lisa. How this works,
stupid.
though.
They're stupid people. There's a lot of stupid people in that fan base.
It's at this point, I'm trying. It's like, are you guys doing this on purpose now? Like, are you just like, you're purposefully saying dumb things, or are you dumb people? Like, I want to meet some of you in person and have a real conversation with you. And it's like, oh no, you're just not smart.
What I've learned about that is that when you do have a conversation with them in person, you live to regret it. So be careful what you ask for.
It's the proliferation of it though, right? Like, it's so many where I'm just like, is this the gag? Is this what you guys like collectively? Like, you got like a group chat and you're like, hey, we're going to say these dumb things today to piss everybody off.
Let's wear these t-shirts to the game. It's going to be a real hit. T-shirt twins. Oh my God.
No, they weren't real Bama fans, guys. There was another fan base.
Yeah.
No, that's what Bama fans were telling.
No, they're not real.
They're not real
Bama fans.
They're just guys.
That's what the graduates say.
In Bama clothes, walking around supporting Bama's team in a city that is not Tuscaloosa. Like, they drove all the way to Nashville to pretend to be Bama fans because they don't represent us.
Nope.
Well, they damn sure wearing a uniform.
Own your sidewalk alumni. You're right. Own them.
That's like that line from Life when they walked into the store and he's like, Billy, and he's like, how'd you know my name? It says it right there on your shirt. Like, I didn't assume you were a Bama fan. You got the damn hat on. Like, what you like? I ain't make that up. You wore the hat.
Yeah. Anthony Russ says, Ike, your boy Devin Cambridge is about to hoop.
I mean, when did Devin Cambridge become my boy? I think he's a talented guy, but I don't know when he became my boy. Go do your thing, Devin. Just as long as you don't play Auburn and win, then win as many games as you want to, my guy.
I appreciate Ike's consistency with that because he did not disappoint. Corey Weber says Wendell needs 20 tomorrow. KD needs 20 as well.
Listen, man, Iowa can score when they want to. I mean, they're gonna. We don't have to score points.
They're in the tops in the nation as far as scoring. They can go out. They can fill it up, bro.
All right. We shall see how they do tomorrow. You guys will be covering that game. Of course, we'll see what the good guys do. Ike, tell the people what they need to be doing, sir.
Well, you need to come on board and join the War Rapport. Listen, this is another way. If you talking about wearing a uniform, this is your badge online that lets people know I really rock with these guys, man. So $5.99 gets you to the place where you can become a patron. Supporters, we got you right here as well. But we appreciate everybody who's decided to patronize the War Rapport in any way. But if you want to throw a few extra dollars on that pile per month, go ahead and become a member. Click the join button and decide it to which level you want to support what we have going on. And we will reward you with some of the best insider content on the internet. If you are a member and you want to gift a membership to someone else, super easy to do that right now from the live chat. Hit that gift box and you can do that. Want to say that if you did not get an opportunity to win something today from the giveaway, that you can head over to thewarreport.com and shop with us. We've seen a lot of your orders coming through over there, and we appreciate it. Continue to support us by rocking the merch. And, I'll try to get you guys a Green Name Game t-shirt so you can rock those. We appreciate everybody who continues to do that. The Auburn Express is the podcast powered by the War Rapport. Check us out on podcasts. We got a lot of great things going on. Mike Mack and the Memes is dropping tomorrow, right, Mike? What did you guys talk about yesterday on Mike Mack and the Memes?
Oh, just a lot of Auburn basketball. Brandy had some thoughts. I had some thoughts. Memes had some thoughts. It was It was an interesting podcast.
Hopefully they were better thoughts than you guys' SEC predictions, because those did not pan out. So
Then
well.
everybody's SEC predictions, unless you picked Bama to win it. I mean, but let's be real. Like, just about everybody else, beside Bama, everybody else's SEC predictions fell apart. They did.
Yeah,
It didn't go the way most people thought it was going to go.
Yeah, I thought Texas A&M was going to win it, to be fair. But I did think Bama was going to make it. But I didn't think
they laid an egg in that game. But,
Vandy beat Kentucky. Like, I mean,
I know. It's just,
it was like
this one I thought Kentucky was
Blah.
scary. Vandy says,
Yeah.
hold my beer. Hold my beer. Guys, share this content on social media so people can get in on the discussion. Smash that like button and subscribe for those of you who are new to our channel. You can find us on social media. I mentioned Facebook and Twitter. We're also on IG at The War Rapport. We're TW Rapport on TikTok. Zipper now, guys, but we are signing out. We will definitely catch you guys Friday, right?
Yes. Next morning drop should be Friday.
Next morning drop should be Friday. Hopefully you guys are talking about an Auburn victory, Auburn dub. Let's hope so. Till then, enjoy the rest of your evening. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.